How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Marvel Snap video. Annihilus comes to Marvel Snap today. This is a card I've been most excited about in November. For those of you who don't know, he is a 5/7 with an on reveal. Your cards with 0 or less power switch sides, destroy those that can't. Now, it's key, the destroy those that can't. That is huge. It really mitigates some of his downside. I don't know why that's thrown in there, but you can play cards like Sentry to get a -10 power on the right side, and if you play Annihilus and that -10 power does not get sent over, it just gets destroyed. So it's huge. It kind of mitigates the downside of playing him. I'm really excited to play him. I've got 3 decks for you guys. They all have the same general shell of clog or junk or whatever you want to call it, but with 3 different win conditions that you're trying to reach. So I'm excited for these decks. Let's get to them. Now, the first deck is one that I'm most excited about, but also the shell that I'm most afraid of. Galactus. If a Galactus shell with Annihilus works out really well, it's going to be a problem. People hated Galactus before, then people hated Galactus where you can play Goliath after him and your turn 6 doesn't matter. Now, if you can get a really good clog deck going, a really good junk deck going, and then play Galactus in a lane that's already filled, now you don't even have that turn 6 or whatever it is. With this deck, you're not playing any ramps, so you're gonna play Galactus on turn 6. But if you can clog a lane reliably and just have an empty lane for Galactus, you can just win no matter what's going on in the other 2 lanes. So I'm excited, but I'm also afraid of this. Let's go over kind of that core shell that you're gonna see over and over. You have Hood, you have Black Widow. Ways to clog your opponent's board. Black Widow's a little bit indirect with her clogging, where she makes the -1, I think it's called a Widow's Bite, don't even know the name, and then they play that, takes up a slot for -1 power. And then of course you have Viper to send over that Hood, to send over the Sentry. Green Goblin, again, get some cards on your opponent's locations. Debris you're going to see repeatedly, get those rocks on your side of the board so you can send them over with Annihilus on turn 5. Sentry I believe is in a couple of these decks, and then of course Annihilus. Now for this shell, because you're clogging your opponent's board, you're hoping for them to get a lot of things over there. Hazmat Luke Cage is going to be really good. I also think you're going to be running into a lot of other junk decks, so having Luke Cage in there, having Hazmat is just going to be a good kind of counter to what's going on. It's worth noting that Annihilus is also a counter to Annihilus if you can reveal second. So they play their Annihilus, they send all of their stuff over to your side, and then yours reveals on turn 5 right after and sends everything back over. So it's going to be really interesting to see those kinds of games. And then in this deck, because you're kind of going with the whole theme of Hazmat Luke Cage, Man-Thing to get negative power over there, and then you have Typhoid Mary. Ideally, your side of the board's not going to have that many things, or you're going to have Luke Cage out, so her downside's not going to be there. So it's just a good amount of power. You can also play something like Spider-Woman in this slot. And then of course, Annihilus, Galactus. Your main goal is to clog up their side of the board on one location where you can reliably get Galactus to go off and just win against a lane full of rocks or whatever it is. So I'm really excited for this deck. This is the one I'm going to try right away on release. Let's talk about the next one. The next deck is a Werewolf Darkhawk Annihilus deck. Again, has that same early core, but you have Carnage to try to deal with your Hood. If you don't have Viper to send the Hood over, you at least have Carnage to destroy it, as well as Carnage to destroy some of your rocks with Debris if you don't have a way to send those over. But you're playing Werewolf in this deck. You have a lot of early low drop on reveals to bounce Werewolf around. You're also playing the Korg Rock Slide Darkhawk package. With all this claw, you're going to be able to get a pretty big Darkhawk. And then of course you have the Sentry Annihilus combo. I've been really wanting to use Sentry for a long time now. I played him like a few months ago in a similar deck, but it just was missing that extra thing, and I think Annihilus is going to bring that to this junk clog type of deck archetype. So the last deck is a Ravana clog deck. I'm just really excited to try Ravana. I didn't really use her much when she came out, so I'm excited to give her a shot. What she's essentially going to do here is make your Green Goblin and your Hobgoblin cheaper. I don't think she'll work on Mysterio. If she does, great. If not, whatever. But you're trying to make your Green Goblin, your Hobgoblin cheaper so you can more efficiently get them out and not use up your turn 5 with Hobgoblin. Get Hobgoblin out on 4, and then be able to play Annihilus out on 5. This deck also uses Gladiator. Just came out last week. I'm excited to give him a shot too. It's worth noting that your Mysterios are going to be 0 power, and I'm like 90% sure Annihilus is going to send over the real Mysterio as well. So when you do the math at the end of the game, make sure you calculate in that 4 power. This deck is probably the one I have the least amount of confidence in, but it allows you to play cards like Ravana, like Master Mold, Gladiator, who's been underwhelming in my opinion, and then of course Sentry. So it gives you a shot to play these cards you don't normally play. It looks interesting. I like the idea behind it, but if you're looking for a more competitive deck list, try the other two. If any of these decks work for you or you make any changes, make sure you let me know in the comments what's worked, what didn't work, what you liked, what you didn't like. I try to do day one lists for every new card coming to Marvel Snap. So if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. And as usual, if you love all things Marvel Snap, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the bell. I'll see you in the next one.